What if your body suddenly had no oxygen? Most humans would lose consciousness in minutes. But in the natural world, some animals don't just survive that moment. They adapt to it. Some can shut down their metabolism. Some can switch their entire chemistry to survive without oxygen. And some can stay alive for hours, even months, in conditions that would instantly kill most life forms. This isn't science fiction. This is real biology happening right now on Earth. In this video, we're going to explore animals that have mastered one of the most extreme survival abilities ever, living without oxygen. And once you understand how they do it, it changes how you think about life itself. In nature, oxygen is everything. It powers muscles, fuels the brain, and keeps cells alive. But some animals have found a way to break that rule. From frozen lakes to muddy ocean floors, these creatures can survive in environments where oxygen is almost
Hey
completely
everyone,
gone.
welcome back to
In
another
this video,
episode
we'll
from
explore how they do it and why these extreme survival strategies are more advanced than they first appear. Let's go into the main content. The painted turtle is one of the most extreme examples of surviving without oxygen. During winter, it hibernates underwater in frozen ponds where oxygen levels drop to nearly zero. Instead of breathing, it slows its metabolism dramatically. Its body switches to anaerobic processes, meaning it produces energy without oxygen. But this creates lactic acid, which would normally be deadly. Here's the surprising part. The turtle uses its shell as a buffer, storing excess acid and preventing its body from shutting down. It can survive like this for months until the ice melts. It is not just surviving the cold, it is surviving the absence of oxygen itself. This turtle turns its entire body into a life support system. The goldfish might look simple, but its survival ability is anything but. In low oxygen water like frozen ponds, goldfish can switch their metabolism into a completely different mode. Instead of producing lactic acid like most animals, they convert it into ethanol, basically alcohol. This ethanol then diffuses out through their gills into the water. This process prevents toxic buildup inside their body. It allows them to survive for long periods in oxygen-deprived environments. It sounds almost unbelievable, but it is a real biochemical adaptation, a fish that survives by turning stress into alcohol. Quiet, efficient, and incredibly strange. The crucian carp takes this ability even further. It is one of the most tolerant fish when it comes to low oxygen environments. Like goldfish, it can convert lactic acid into ethanol, but it can survive in completely anoxic water for extended periods during winter. When lakes freeze over, oxygen disappears and most fish die. The crucian carp does not. It slows down its activity, reduces energy use, and continues surviving in a state that would kill almost any other vertebrate. It is not fast, it is not aggressive, but in the right conditions, it outlasts everything around it. Survival in its purest form. The wood frog survives in a way that almost feels impossible. When winter arrives, this frog actually freezes. Its heart stops. Its breathing stops. Ice forms inside its body. In most animals, that would mean death. But the wood frog produces high levels
The
of
wood frog
glucose,
has an
which acts like
astounding
a natural
ability.
antifreeze. This protects its cells from damage. Its organs remain intact, even while frozen solid. When temperatures rise, the frog thaws. Its heart starts beating again. It simply wakes up and continues living. It is not just surviving without oxygen. It is pausing life itself, then restarting it when conditions improve. The green sea turtle shows a different kind of endurance. It does not shut down completely, but it can drastically slow its metabolism when resting. While sleeping underwater, especially in colder conditions, it can hold its breath for several hours. In some cases, it can remain submerged for up to several hours by reducing its energy use and oxygen demand. Its heart rate drops. Its body enters a low-power state. This allows it to survive in environments where oxygen is limited, without constant movement to the surface. It is not about speed or strength, it is about control. The ability to stretch every breath as far as possible. The diving beetle may be small, but its survival strategy is surprisingly clever. Instead of breathing constantly, it carries its own air supply underwater. It traps a bubble of air under its wings before diving. This bubble acts like a portable oxygen tank. As the beetle uses oxygen, more diffuses into the bubble from the surrounding water. This extends the time it can stay submerged. In low oxygen environments, this trick becomes even more valuable. It allows the beetle to stay hidden from predators and hunt longer. A tiny insect using physics and biology together to survive where oxygen is limited. The brine shrimp survives in conditions that seem completely unlivable. When its environment dries out or loses oxygen, it enters a state called cryptobiosis. In this state, its metabolism almost completely stops. There is no visible movement, no growth, almost no chemical activity. It is not dead, but it is not truly alive, in the normal sense either. It can remain like this for long periods, waiting for water and oxygen to return. Once conditions improve, it reactivates and continues its life cycle as if nothing happened. It is like pressing pause on life itself, then hitting play again when the world becomes safe. The lugworm lives buried deep in ocean sediment, where oxygen levels are extremely low. Instead of avoiding this environment, it has adapted to it. Its blood contains hemoglobin that binds oxygen very efficiently, even when oxygen is scarce. It constantly processes sediment, extracting both nutrients and the small amounts of oxygen available. This allows it to survive in conditions that would suffocate most animals. It is not fast or visible, but it thrives in one of the most oxygen-poor habitats on Earth. A quiet survivor, hidden beneath the surface, perfectly adapted to a world with almost no air. These animals may live in completely different environments, from frozen lakes to deep ocean mud, but they all share one extraordinary ability. They can survive when oxygen disappears. Some slow their bodies down to almost nothing. Some change their entire chemistry, and some simply pause life, waiting for the world to become livable again. It challenges a basic idea we often take for granted, that oxygen is always required every second without exception. But nature doesn't follow simple rules. It adapts, it experiments, and sometimes it finds ways to survive where life should not exist at all. So the next time you think about survival, ask yourself this: is it about strength or the ability to endure the impossible? If you found this fascinating, make sure to subscribe and explore more hidden stories from the natural world.